Capitol, they're scheming in the night, selling out our freedoms for a pocket full of spite. From the border to the heartland, the wolves are at the door, twisting truth and tearing down what our fathers fought before. But I'm a patriot source, standing tall and true, with a Bible in my hand and old glory flying blue. Ain't apologizing for loving this land. We'll fight the forces of evil with fire in our stand. God bless the USA, we'll never back down. Patriots for freedom, wearing that crown.
Turn that off. All right, man. Folks in the chat, I don't know how to prepare you properly for this show that's coming, because if you could have been a fly on the wall in the green room, this is probably going to be a bit of a spicy, that's a spicy meatball. It's kind of the way that we're coming into this one. A little bit fired up, a little bit focused, a lot pissed off about some things that are going on in the world. And quite honestly, just a little annoyed with some of the festering boils on the backside of the work that many people are trying to do to save this country. SK is pissed off. Look at her. She is hot. She is not.
I am super spicy, and you know it's bad when you make me mad, because I've said nice things about all these people that have been talking shit about me and making videos about me and everything else. I just ignore it.
Yep.
If you say that I said something I didn't say, or that I don't know what I'm talking about, I will prove you wrong with receipts. But I haven't talked shit about anyone. I haven't talked about their character. I haven't done any of that. But I'm fucking done. Gloves are off. I'm fucking done.
Get it. But we're not going to spend very much time on these people, because honestly, the losertarians, I think in my opinion, are on their last dying breath of relevancy. So we're going to maybe talk just for a second about some of the folks who, quite honestly, in my opinion, are just very upset that this group in particular has been spot on from day one on just about everything that's going on in this country. SK is going to lay out some of the really frustrating things that she's seeing in the America 250 movement. And Nam and I maybe slightly disagree with her a little bit, so that could get interesting. We're going to talk a lot about the post that DataRepublican put out today. An incredible post, because some of the folks who've been deeply involved in the color revolution, those names are starting to hit really close to home. And I think we may have actually found kind of a foundational clip from Donald Trump, one of his earliest speeches after he came down the golden escalator, defining exactly what it is that he was preparing to implement over the course of his presidency. And, you know, it may have taken some of us a little while to understand the difference between traditional globalist versions of conservatism versus the American system that he's implementing. So we're going to spend some time talking about that, because there is a fundamental difference. The losertarians don't understand it. They don't understand what Trump is trying to implement. And more importantly, they don't care to understand it, because they're all grifting idiots, and they care more about spending time on lives, screen sharing other people's lives, so that they can make a couple of engagement bucks along the way. And in the process, they're watching their entire losertarian grifting movement get crushed. So we've got that. We've got some images from the UFC 250 event. You guys have all seen all of that, so we're probably not going to spend a ton of time. I don't know. I have an opinion. I think people are just pissed off that there's some men back in the White House and they don't know how to handle it. So we're gonna talk about that. We've got some other fun stuff planned for you tonight. Let's see. We've got Postal Service is
Oh.
doing some interesting things. Oh, yeah. go ahead.
Don't let me forget the Oklahoma primaries tomorrow. And don't let me forget to go over this before we end, because I need to tell people where to go to get the voting guide. And I need to tell people what happened. And I will check before the end of this podcast to see if he unblocked me. If he didn't unblock me, I'm telling every single one of you people, do not vote for him.
That's awesome. Well, we got Stephen Vacanti, 5 Patriot Source Network memberships. Thank you so much. We love it. We appreciate it. I don't know. We got all kinds of stuff planned for you today.
Oh, that's what I had. I even wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. Let me get it out. You know how I suck at promotion? Yeah, I wrote it down today. Ready?
Yeah, ready.
Scan the QR code, whichever. I don't know where it is on your screen. On my screen, it's over here. So it's probably over here for you guys.
It is over there.
Scan the QR code, subscribe to the channel, like this live. If you're watching the replay, leave a comment, like the video, share this stuff everywhere, all over all the other socials. Go share it. Also, we appreciate all of you that tune in every week. Truly, our family, our Patriot family. Also, comment. All of you guys are always commenting, engaging, sending super chats. We appreciate that. We especially want to thank our members, and we do have new members only content coming soon. I think some of it might actually have already been posted. I'm not sure because I haven't looked, but I think some of the members only content has already been posted. So make sure if you're a member, you go check that out. There was something else. Oh, the Discord. We need to go ahead and get that Discord pop in over here, because that's where these people are talking about us, is Discord. So you guys need to get into Discord so that we can have our own chats about.
So we can talk about them.
Yeah.
Is that what? Yeah. Folks, here's the deal. I'm kind of at the place now where we have a country to save, and these FAGA, fake ass black pill, want to be America first people who don't understand the first concept of what it means to actually be America first. I'm done. I'm over it. Quite honestly, it's irrelevant to me. You can tell when you are making a real impact in the world, when you've got losertarians who are nipping at your heels all day long, literally screen recording every word you say to try to clip and cut and take out of context the content that you're putting out, because that's what they are. They're grifting losers. And at this point, we're going to deal with it, and then we're moving on, because we have some really, really important things that are getting ready to happen in this country.
I have a question.
I don't know if you guys.
Why do we give a shit about a 6,000 follower TikTok?
We don't. We
I
don't.
mean,
we don't.
literally.
I've been on a panel one time with this person, like literally once. And I think I said like 5 words. I've never talked to this person. I've never said anything bad about this person. I've never gone for this person at all. Even the other guy that's up there a lot, multiple guys and girl. As a matter of fact, when you guys were talking about one of the girls that's up there, I even said, I like this girl. And she's somebody from the left. And I even said, I like her. I don't have a problem with her. Didn't I? Didn't I?
You did.
Yeah. But if you guys want to keep bringing up my name and saying SK is talking shit and SK is doing that, I mean, I'll talk some
Let's
shit.
give him a reason. Let's give him a reason. Let's do
Okay,
it.
here's the deal. Why did they do a live about your house fire? I have no idea. My house burned down. Everyone knows that.
Wait,
I
they
showed
did
you
a
the
live
photo.
about your house
Apparently
fire?
they did. I have no idea.
now-
That's how insignificant these people really
Oh.
are to me. If
Yeah.
you are that much of a life loser that you need to do an entire live about somebody's house burning down, you suck at life. And quite frankly, you don't deserve the attention that you're about to get for the next 3 or 4 minutes before we move on. My house burned down, the entire thing. I literally lost everything that I own that was not contained in my barn. My son ran outside in the snow barefoot because our house burned down and it moved so rapidly through our home. The only thing that I was able to grab was my child. He's 15 now. My laptop and my phone. I couldn't even get my car keys for my truck. The front of my truck grill melted because of the fire in my garage because the truck was parked out front. We lost it all. But the good news is we were smart enough to have really good insurance, which is why we are now able to make decisions like, instead of rebuilding, moving down to coastal Alabama. That's the decision that we made as a family. I lost everything, all of it. Years worth of memories, all of the things that my wife had had received after her father passed away. lifelong memories, things that she'll never get back. It's all gone, all of it, because we had a house fire. What's the big deal about that?
Photos of the kids,
Everything. Everything's gone.
all of their little art projects that they made, all of their belongings, all of their baby things, their little baby shoes, their cute little baby outfits. You save all of their photos,
All of it.
everything. And when you homeschool and you have your kids in your home and you're tending to them all the time and raising them that way, when you look at your kitchen, you're seeing, like a movie, all of the memories of you and your kids cooking and
Everything.
doing that project and that experiment in the kitchen and at the kitchen table, all the conversations that were had. Yeah, all that's gone. It's all burned to the ground.
All of it is gone.
My favorite part of all of this, right, if there is a favorite part, is that they do this. They'll run that live and have a stupid conversation. But if you try to go up there, they will mute you and they will boot you for being able to participate. So,
well,
I mean,
and
listen,
that's probably
these are not serious. They're not serious people, right?
That's probably the biggest mistake that I made this week. So I was driving down from Ohio down to Alabama yesterday, and I'm just driving, minding my own business. The wife is asleep, the kids are asleep in the back seat. I'm probably 8 hours into a 15-hour trip, just listening to the radio, listening to podcasts. And then somebody sends me a note, says, "Hey, Sunni's doing another live about you. You should probably go check it out." So I'm like, all right, great. So I'll go check it out. So I hopped over there while I was driving. And probably the biggest mistake that anybody can make is try to get on someone's live panel while you're driving down the freeway at 75, 80 miles an hour, because you can't think, you can't concentrate. You're focused on not killing people. But at the same time, I made a dumb mistake by even getting on the live. I should have known that this woman is not a serious person. She's not interested in engaging in a conversation. I actually have the entire thing screen recorded, and I was thinking about going through and clipping out all the times that I was muted as I was trying to make a point, because she's not capable of having an actual conversation. Now, I did have what I thought was a pretty decent conversation with Tumblr, but that only lasted for a few minutes before Looney Sunni jumped in and started ranting and raving about the American Reich and about Nazis. For some reason, this woman cannot help herself. She loves to defend Nazis. She can't handle it. I don't know why. Somebody explain to me why Sunni Looney is so focused on protecting Nazis. I don't get it. It's a very basic concept. We don't want Nazis in our party. It's baffling to me why you would take even a minute of your time to defend someone like Ryan Matta being invited into the Thomas Massie campaign. I will never understand it. It's the dumbest thing in the world, unless there's some tenets of Nazism that you agree with. And if there are, that's your problem, not mine. Don't care.
Hold on. Pause. Steven, I see you. Steven says, "Hey, I had to make a decision between Paramount Tactical and Patriot Source." Also, K Pasto called him out and was like, you were on both. So for those of you that are going back and forth, we love you and welcome. Also, go give Gary a hard time and tell him he needs a vacation, and then put wink, wink. He'll know what I'm talking about.
Gary, take a vacation. We all need vacations, especially in this incredibly stressful environment. Although I'm not stressed at all, Nam, SK, because in case you guys haven't caught on, and those of you guys in the chat, we have been spot on from day one when this administration started moving as rapidly as they could to implement what we now understand to be the American system of economic power. Spot on. Now, it may have taken some folks, me included, a little bit of time to be able to wrap my head around how this is different than anything we've seen, or at least any of us have seen in our lifetime. But it's happening. And we should have known that it was happening, because Donald Trump started preparing us for this back in 2016 and 2017. But until the actual label was slapped on the economic agenda that Donald Trump is implementing, I don't think most people understood it. And I still don't think most people understand it. And you're going to have to be willing to wrap your head around the idea that there is another way. You don't have to agree with authoritarian socialism, and you also don't have to agree with laissez-faire economic capitalism. There is a model, the only model that works economically. So in the slight conversation I did have a chance to have with Tumblr, I've come to the realization that the reason why most of these losertarians are so upset is because they thought they were voting for somebody that was going to come into office and was going to slash spending everywhere. because they didn't listen to Donald Trump. At no point in his campaign did he say that he was going to slash spending. He repeatedly talked about slashing wasteful spending. Wasteful.
The fact is the president cannot slash spending anyway. Okay. The House of Representatives is what does spending, right? They're the ones who define what we're going to spend. Now, the president can refuse to sign a budget or whatever they call these things that aren't actually budgets, but he can refuse to sign it. But he can't slash anything. He doesn't have the ability to go line by line and say, we're not doing that, we're not doing that, we're not doing that. That's not how this works. That's why we end up with these government shutdowns all the damn time. That's not the president doing that. It's Congress doing it.
Yep.
Do these people not understand how, like, we have a constitution and it's all very clear. It's laid out very clearly in that. And when you've got all this mandatory and discretionary spending, and any time that the White House tries to do anything to deal with at least wasteful spending, what do you get? They get sued, right? And then you've got some activist federal district court judge who's like, no, we actually have to continue funding the Leering centers in Minnesota. I mean, what? Guy needs some help.
Well, he's actually been wildly successful so far at the reallocation of the spending that he's been driving. And I think this is the point that most people don't understand, is that he never promised to slash deficits for the sake of slashing deficits through austerity spending. His promise was to slash wasteful spending and then to rebuild the American manufacturing class, to develop a system of economics that focuses on national, and this is my words, national capitalism, using the capitalist system along with the influence of the federal government to focus on national security, building up our military, and creating a manufacturing base inside of this country so that we can grow our way into reducing deficits. Trump was clear from day one when he came down that escalator, he was going to be using a model of tariffs and growth to deal with deficits, not slashing spending for the sake of slashing spending. Now, he has in fact slashed a ton of wasteful spending, a ton of it. And I'll show you some of that here in a little bit. But before we get into that, I think we should spend just a few minutes just celebrating some of what happened yesterday.
Wait, do we not have the clip of that video where this person's claiming some stupid shit about regime change? Oh, no.
Let's do it.
No,
Play
because
it.
I almost exploded when I heard this.
Which one? So we've got two of them up here. Which one?
I think it's titled Sunni Looney.
Looney Sunni?
Looney Sunni 2 is what I think it's called. Is it?
I've got a Sunni the Clown Show, which is one that I brought over. So let's try this one and tell me if it's the right one.
I think this is it. Sunni the Clown Show. Go ahead.
Oh, wait, Sunni the Clown Show. Okay, here we go.
Wait, it's the video.
This one?
Yeah,
That's okay?
yeah, that one. That one.
All right. So Sunni the Clown Show. Here we go.
Be upset with the idea that it's not our responsibility to do regime change. And these losertarians that are constantly upset because they say we're doing regime change and then are mad because we're not doing regime.
Well, Patriot Queer, I know you don't understand because you don't understand much of anything, which is why you have to sit on platforms like this Boomer Slop Live, and lie. I'm not libertarian, first of all. Second of all, I don't support regime change. Third of all, I would be very happy if we didn't participate in regime change. And finally, we did regime change, and Donald Trump said it himself.
But we've had regime change, you look already, because the one regime was decimated, destroyed, and the next regime is mostly dead. But let's see how they turn out. We have really regime change. You know, this is a change in the regime because the leaders are all very different than the ones that we started off.
And to the idiot box here, why don't you tell them that you supported the Iranian people as well as regime change? Why don't you tell people that you were going around hosting lives like this and encouraging the Iranians to step up and take over their government? Because we, the United States of America, had completely wiped out their leadership.
Want to have a conversation, they're welcome to come up here today to do that. But the problem is they don't have the moral courage to come up here and talk with you.
Did she just
Unless
confuse
not,
Marine
it's
Mom
just
with
me.
just me?
For you to say anything about
think so.
moral courage when you act
She's
like
like a
maybe,
boil
maybe
on
not.
the ass.
when it came
of
Can I turn this shit
humanity.
off?
Yeah, turn this
Turn
shit
this shit
off.
off.
Did to
Yeah.
you
Turn
that
this
you
off.
were afraid of?
Turn this
You
off.
actually came on my live.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. Is this what she did? Okay, Sunni. Clearly, you didn't listen to Donald Trump's clip very closely, did you? No, Donald Trump is not claiming we did traditional regime change like, usually happens where there's democracy spreading and all of that shit that we 100% do not support. He's talking about regime change because all their fucking leadership is dead. Pay attention, keep up. He even goes on to state that then their second string leadership, they're gone too. So they don't even really know who they're dealing with because all of their leadership is dead. That's what he says when he says we didn't mean to do regime change, like it wasn't our intention to do regime change, but regime change is happening because they're all fucking dead. So again, go back and listen a little closer to Donald Trump and maybe, I don't know, clean the earwax out of your ears. I don't know, take a deep breath, try to step away from the ego a little bit and listen to what he's saying. Not a single one of us up here support traditional regime change. All of us up here support the Iranian people and being free from an oppressive regime. But we have all said it is the Iranians people's job to do regime change and to be able to pick the leaders that go into power in their country to lead their country, the people that they want to lead their country. Also, now with this deal signed and the Abraham Accords and all those things, you're going to have the Middle East and Israel, and they're for sure going to make sure that the Iranian people get regime change and make sure that leadership comes in that's going to be best for Iran as well as the rest of the Middle East so that there can actually be peace and, trade and everything else. But again,
Which is really weird, which is really strange. And SK, I'll come back to you in a second, because what Looney Sunni did in cutting that clip, she now tells me that she didn't cut it. Somebody sent it to her, which is interesting because it means that she had somebody from her Discord server literally scanning TikTok to find lives to screen record people.
Oh, you mean
and they
do
went
better?
to
I'll call you out. I'm gloves are off. You mean
And
do
they
better?
went-
Because fun fact, people like me more than they like you guys. And there are people in your Discord that send me things. And I don't check my
That's
messages very often at all whatsoever. But when I happen to click on TikTok and I see messages and I see something about somebody's talking about you, and then I click on it and I see, all these receipts of people talking about me. Yeah, I saw it. And I usually don't say anything. I stay quiet. I'm the one that just ignores it and takes the high road. Gloves are off. I've been doing this for 3 years and I'm tired of being the nice person. I'm tired of letting people go around and spread rumors about me, talk shit about me, steal my shit, do all that stuff, and then go around and pretend like they are somehow morally superior. I haven't said a single word about this Sunni person. I've been on a panel one time, said maybe 5 words. I don't know you. I haven't said anything bad about you. I joke about losertarians. Okay. If that's not you, I'm not talking about you. Tumblr, your friend Tumblr, I like the guy. I haven't said anything bad about the guy. I joke about a losertarian the same way I do with the left. Do I have friends from the left? Yes. Do I have TikTok creator friends on the left? Yes. Do I joke with them? Do I give them a hard time? Also, yes. So for those of us that don't get offended by little things like saying losertarian or something like that, I mean, I'm not talking bad about you personally. If you're taking it personally, that's your own problem. But I will 100% address your argument. And when you keep bringing up SK and saying SK is talking shit and PD and SK and that PD is just sitting around on panels, first of all, he was there for like 10 minutes, maybe. He's busy. He doesn't sit on panels.
I go to
have
1-2 panels a
him.
week for like 5 minutes. And
I
that's
have
it.
to ask him to come in if there's something that I think he might want to talk about. I have
That's
to
it.
ask him. And for the record, I wasn't on TikTok at all whatsoever for like 8 months. And
Yep.
I've been going, and most of the time I'm just sitting, I'm muted, and I'm doing something completely different because some of us are actually making a difference in the world instead of just sitting around talking shit about people on TikTok. But
That's
yeah.
right. The really sad thing, real quick, Nam, we're going to move on from this. I know Guarding is like, can we please move on? The really sad thing is the 10 minutes that I was on that panel with just me and Marine Mom, I spent a good portion of that panel defining what I meant by regime change. The definition that I provided was simple. The American people are going to have to divorce themselves from the binary choice that we have always thought was the only option, which is do nothing or forever wars, where you send your military in, you take over a country, you swap out the government, and you spend the next 20 years trying to figure out how to get a round peg into a square hole in a region with a culture that we don't understand. They don't understand democracy. They don't care about democracy. They care about their own version of the Islamist regimes. The Trump administration gets that. We are not doing regime change the way that we have always done regime change. And that's exactly the point that I made on that panel. And yet, for some reason, Looney Sunni and her group decided to cut all of that out. All of it. All of it. You know why? Because they're grifters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's simple.
So there was one thing that she said in there, and this is actually kind of the crux of the problem, because what the American system and what President Trump actually does agree with is that the Iranian people, the Persians, should be able to pick their own leadership, right, in a democratic way, instead of having Islam shoved down their throats
in a democratic way, not a
way.
democratic way,
Right.
the way that the United States usually does democracy in other countries.
Right.
We're not doing that.
Right. But the point is the people of Iran actually want that. Like they go in the streets and protest, and they're mowed down like 30, 40,000 of them at a time. So we're not going to put boots on the ground. That's not the regime change we're talking about. We're talking about the Iranian people actually rising up and kicking out the IRGC, kicking out the Islamists, and actually having and holding real elections, not ones that we're going to run, that we're going to have boots on the ground and we're going to operate. But what Sunni said in her little video down there, I don't know if you guys missed it or not, but she said she didn't even support the Iranian people rising up and kicking the IRGC out. Like, no, she's like, no, we want actually Islamists, the Iranian Republican Guard Corps, who murders gay people, throws them off of buildings, forces women to be covered at all times. They can't leave the home without a male escort. I mean, but she's okay with that, as long as, I don't know what, we're not involved with the regime change. It's just,
well, that's because that's the globalist model for how the Middle East is supposed to be operated. It's supposed to be run with Iran as the agent of chaos, and any disruption of Iran as the agent of chaos is a problem to them. This is the reason why they drive this idea of America first, America only. They don't want us involved in that region at all. But the problem is, you can't just pull United States forces out of that region and allow that entire civilization to be strong-armed by someone like Iran and the globalists at the Bank of London. You can't allow it, because then they have total control over all energy flowing out of that region. They have complete dominance over global economies. And that is the regime that the Trump administration has been changing. We're not talking about regime change in Iran. We're talking about global system regime change of the globalist British imperialist system. It's that simple. The only way the American military will ever be able to leave that region, and I say this over and over and over again, is if we help to create the conditions by which the regional partners in the area can police their own societies, can police their own region. The Trump administration has been very clear on this from day one. They have objectives, specific objectives, and when those objectives are met, they're leaving. And I think the thing that these people are most upset about, and it's not just Sunni because she's irrelevant, it's not just Tumblr, although I agree with Tumblr on a lot of things, it is the large content creators and influencers on social media who have clearly decided that they are going to take the foreign influence money to drive an agenda to try to stop the Trump administration from leaving the Middle East in a place where it can be managed by Middle Eastern regional partnership.
Well, but the problem is they're really mad because they're losing. Trump is winning basically on every front at this point. And the imagery that we have seen just in the last week, since last Thursday when the World Cup started, I don't know if you guys have seen, and we had a whole portion of the show Friday that way we were going to cover this, but have you guys seen, and actually I got a couple points here. Have you guys seen all of the videos, the TikTok and X videos of the Europeans and the people from around the world that are in our country right now? And they're like, We've been lied to. The United
Yes.
States is actually awesome. Like,
Yes.
it's amazing. Everywhere you look. In fact, I see a bunch of leftists putting posts out there that Trump is destroying the World Cup when they were using friendly games that were in stadiums that are not, that none of these games are being played in. They're trying to do anything they can to discredit this, but the people who are actually here to watch the World Cup are having the time of their lives. I can't tell you how many of these videos I've seen people saying, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to the UK. The UK is a dystopian mess compared to what we have going on in the United States. And the people on the left hate it because they've tried so hard for so long to try to paint the picture that the United States is the dystopian hellscape. And it's actually not. It's the rest of the world that is dystopian hellscape.
Unless the Democrats get control, and then it will
Correct.
be, because you'll get the Mamdanis and you'll get the Clintons and you'll get the censorship and you'll get all the things that are happening in Europe here, the open borders, all of the censorship getting thrown in jail. As a matter of fact, I listened to a clip of Hillary Clinton again today from 2024, I think September 2024, where she was again, because remember, the Democrats campaigned on censoring everyone's speech. They had the Disinformation Governance Board. They were pre-bunking people. They had the SPLC labeling people as hate groups so that they could censor all of their content. These are the things that the Democrats want. As a matter of fact, in that clip, Hillary Clinton says we lose all control if they can't control what people post on social media. It says we lose all control. When she says we, she means the Democrats.
That's right. No, it wasn't just the fans that are celebrating the United States. So I was listening in the car on the way down yesterday. There's a couple games that were played. I don't know if they were played in Dallas Stadium. I think they were played in Cowboy Stadium. But announcer after announcer after announcer, the halftime shows, the pregame shows, every one of them kept talking about how amazing it was there. To a person, they're all like, I've never seen a Jumbotron this big. This thing's 300 feet. How in the hell do you get a TV that big in the air? They can't believe what we have created in this country. They have no understanding it. They taste the food and their taste buds explode. They go outside, they see the beauty of this country, and it racks their brains. Look, this is one of the problems that I think the American left and the fake ass Black Pill America First crowd can't wrap their heads around. Donald Trump is building a country that we can be proud of. And that doesn't just include economic, ethereal concepts. That includes visually. He wants people to come to this country and be awed by it, because they should. He wants to spend time and invest money in cleaning up Washington, D.C. He wants to present a picture of a strong national pride in this country. This is a perspective that no American president in my lifetime has been successful at achieving. And what we saw yesterday with UFC 250 was a quintessential example of what he's trying to build. Did he need to do it? No, probably not. But you can't deny 180 million people watching this event live, probably more. When I looked last night when it was on, it was 180 million people, Americans, watching this display. Look at this. Take a look at this picture and then compare it to what the Biden administration and the left were doing at the White House. Nam, do you have that photograph?
I do. I gotta make some.
Is it gonna get us demonetized? Does it have nudity in it? Because there are topless women in front of the White House with rainbow flags behind her.
No, I don't think that's the one we're going to pull up. But look, I mean, this is the change that the Trump administration is driving right here, shifting from culture wars to American greatness. This is what they wanted you to see, and Donald Trump showed you what he wants us to see, which is an American pride in your country, pride in what is being built, pride of what's to come, pride of who we are, of where we've come from, actual pride, not identity politics pride.
Not gay pride.
Yes. And one thing I forgot to add when I was going on my rant is American pride, also respecting the military. And if you want to talk shit and call military members boomers and pretend like they don't know what happened in the 80s with Iran when they were killing our service members, when people were actually there in the 80s and in the military during that time. And some of you that are talking this shit are actual members of the military or maybe dependents of people in the military, and you need to learn how to respect the military and also your elders. You can call people boomers and be disrespectful all you
Not a
want to
boomer.
be.
I'm probably younger than
That's
she is,
fine.
or at least I look
That's
younger than
fine.
she is.
Yeah,
You do look
that's
younger than
fine.
she does. Yeah.
But these two guys were in the military, and so were other people that you guys are going after. And I know that a couple of you are at least dependents, and I know at least one of you is in the military. So you should probably not disparage military members that fought and gave their life, sign their life away on the line to serve this country so that you have the right to be an asshole on the internet. And I've said it 100 times, and I'll say it 1,000 more. I will fight all day long for your right to say what you want to say on the internet and be an asshole, as long as you aren't inciting a crime or committing a crime. Doxing, by the way, crime. That's when you'll really see the spicy SK.
Amen.
I don't play that game. You can talk all the shit you want to talk, but why don't you respect military members and quit being disrespectful to people that were actually there when Iran was like attacking our military members in the 80s? Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, look, here's the deal. Donald Trump is creating a country that we should be proud of. So I'm not going to spend any more of my limited time focusing on the backbenchers and the nail biters, because we actually have an agenda here. Our goal is to enforce the Trump agenda, to make it happen. And that's what we're doing. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. If you don't understand it, that's not my problem. I will do my best. We will do our best to try to communicate what he's doing to help everybody understand how it looks in reality compared to the way that it's portrayed in the media. We'll do that. We'll talk about how they're reallocating spending for impact in the economy instead of spending for pet projects and NGOs and funding things that the American people don't care about. We'll talk about how they're shifting wasteful spending into productive spending. And we'll talk about how that productive spending is then being used to create an economic foundation and a base that will create the tax revenue and the tariffs that will then reduce the deficit, which is exactly what the Trump team has been talking about since 2017. Nam, do you have that clip of Donald Trump from 2017, that old one that I pulled? I thought I saw you put it in here.
Is it American System?
Yep, this one.
Meeting with tech executives.
No, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. It's
Okay.
I want to pull this. We need to pull this in. It's Trump American System from day one. I thought I saw that you had it.
There we go. There we go.
Yep. Here we go.
Maybe if it's going to come up. Is it a big one?
Pennsylvania steelworkers lives in the bridges, railways, and skyscrapers that make up our great American landscape. But our workers' loyalty was repaid, you know it better than anybody, with total betrayal. Our politicians have aggressively pursued a policy of globalization, moving our jobs, our wealth, and our factories to Mexico and overseas. Globalization has made the financial elite who donate to politicians very, very wealthy. I used to be one of them. Hate to say it, but I used to be one. But it's left millions of our workers with nothing but poverty and heartache. We can't allow that to happen. In explaining his American system, Clay argued that the sole object of the tariff is to tax the produce, and remember, to tax the produce of foreign industry with the view of promoting American industry. For too long, our government has abandoned the American system. Since NAFTA was approved in 1994.
Did you catch that? That was March of 2016 and March of 2017, when Donald Trump started laying out the framework for the type of economic system he was preparing to implement. He called it by name, the American system. He talked about Henry Clay, the founder of the system. He talked about tariffs. He talked about manufacturing and how the globalists and NAFTA and the globalist system has stripped the American public, the American people, of our national wealth, how they shipped our productivity overseas. And the problem that so many people have is they look at this from a binary decision. They don't understand that the American system is designed to prioritize national strength. It's designed to focus on domestic industrial revival. It's designed as an American first self-reliance over pure austerity for deficit reduction. So when I was having a conversation with Tumblr, and by the way, I totally respect Tumblr. I think he's a super smart guy. I was talking. I was talking.
I've never had a problem with Tumblr. This blows my mind. Blows my mind completely.
When I think I understand where the libertarians are missing the point. They're missing the point because they only think that you can reduce deficits through austerity. They only think that you can do it by slashing spending across the board. And the reality is almost 80% of our federal budget today is mandatory spending, almost 80%. You couldn't even begin to reduce a deficit just by dealing with discretionary spending. And even if you wanted to try to do it through discretionary spending, there is no way in hell with the current shape of Congress and the Senate that you're going to be able to do that. But somehow the Trump administration was able to. Do you guys remember the One Big Beautiful Bill? What was the biggest complaint out of the One Big Beautiful Bill? Do you remember?
Well, there were a lot of them.
Biden era spending. We all get this. This is why in the fall of 2024, when all of these debates were taking place, Trump told Congress to eliminate the debt ceiling. And then all of a sudden, you had all of the Democrats who had been out campaigning and introducing legislation and trying to eliminate the debt ceiling altogether. I have video of Hakeem Jeffries in June of 2024 giving a press conference behind a podium talking about eliminating the debt ceiling. We have to eliminate the debt ceiling. We can't allow the Republicans to continue holding the debt ceiling over our heads, blah, 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 blah. They wanted to put it off on the Treasury. They wanted to do all sorts of things. But when Trump said eliminate the debt ceiling, because he knew he only had a certain amount of time, this is not a normal presidency because he already served one term, then he was out of office. Now he's getting his second term. He has a very short window of time to get his agenda through. And he knew that funding was going to be needed for the mass deportations, for the military, for all the things that were planned. We knew that. We all knew that, which is also another reason why tariffs were so important.
That's
but
right.
What has the left done? They've tried to block him in every single way. Also, the Republicans, which we have talked about ad nauseum on this podcast, about how worthless the Republicans are in Congress and how they're getting absolutely nothing done, and they are not in any way codifying Trump's agenda. So we knew going into this, when he said eliminate the debt ceiling, we knew why. And we knew rescission packages were going to be coming down the pipeline. There's been a lot of stuff going on. There have been one rescission package maybe sent over to Congress.
There's been two. There's been two rescission packages, but rescission isn't all that he was doing. The One Big Beautiful Bill, the Trump administration proposed legislation that would slash discretionary spending by $1.6 trillion. $1.6 trillion, which is a pretty significant amount of spending cuts. The problem that we deal with is that somehow we've allowed the Congressional Budget Office to account for tax cuts as though they are spending. Yes. So the deficit, the addition to the deficit by the One Big Beautiful Bill had nothing to do with spending levels because it actually reduced spending levels. The only reason why you saw an addition to the deficit is because of the leftist progressive globalist system of calculating tax cuts as spending. Somehow we've been able to be convinced as an American people that by you being allowed to keep more of your money, somehow the government is spending it, which is total malarkey. What they ended with after Congress started to debate, they ended with anywhere from $1.1 to $1.4 trillion in discretionary spending. And let me show you what they cut, because this is critical. Hold on. This is critically important to understand the concept of shifting the focus of spending from wasteful spending, which is what he's always talked about, to effective development spending. So here's what they were able to cut. They slashed roughly $860 billion to $1 trillion in Medicaid and Medicare. They did that by changing some of the eligibility requirements. They adjusted SNAP benefits, and they did some other things with like Pell Grants and ACA adjustments and green energy repeals. This
Work
is what
requirements, volunteer, be a
that's right.
productive member of society if you're capable and not disabled. But it's important to point out that the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act resulted in record revenue
That's right.
for the federal government because, fun fact, when you cut people's taxes, they're much more likely to pay them. When you reduce the taxes for reshoring your money, people are more likely to bring their money back to the United States and not leave it in offshore accounts.
And tax revenues, tax receipts are the highest they've ever been, because this is what happens when you shift the focus of revenue generation from the government spending it to you being able to produce and spend it yourself. It's basic economics. This is the way it works. The focus of the One Big Beautiful Bill was to make permanent the Trump tax cuts, and then to provide the tax cuts that he promised during the campaign. No tax on tips, those things, which they did successfully. And they also slashed anywhere from $1.1 to $1.4 trillion of discretionary spending. They did that. You should give them credit for that. That's important because they took money out of wasteful spending of Medicaid, CHIP, SNAP. But on top of it, he's also slashed the federal workforce by 300,000 people. He's created a border environment where we are just basically not seeing any illegal immigration at all. We've seen upwards of 3 million. Right. We've seen upwards of 3 million deportations or self-deportations just in the last 18 months. And there's more to come. There's a lot more to come. But what have they been doing instead? Well, they're investing in important things like rebuilding our military. They're investing in rebuilding our manufacturing base. So here's the problem. The thing that I think people are missing is that what Trump is doing in terms of spending today is shifting the allocation from wasteful spending to upfront or front loading, building a national economy in a way that only the American system has been proven to be able to do. The laissez-faire system can't build it this way. The socialist system can't build it this way because they don't know how to produce anything. The only system that's been successful at building a national economy is the American system. We've seen it every time it's tried, and that's exactly what he's doing right now. So you are not going to get massive deficit spending cuts in the first part of an implementation of an American system because it requires front loading of investment so that you can use tariffs to encourage domestic manufacturing of the things that are critical to the success of our country.
Hey,
you have to build that first. You have to invest in that first. And that's what he's doing right now.
PatriotDad, can you remind us how many trillions of dollars in investments in the United States have already been agreed to?
Yeah, last
promised?
I saw it was close to $20 trillion in investment.
Oh, damn.
I know everyone gets on my case about laissez-faire. I'm a Midwesterner. I say it the way Midwesterners do. I'll call it laissez-faire if it makes you feel better. Laissez-faire.
You also say binary too, which I don't know where the hell that came
binary?
from.
I don't know.
Binary? You said binary.
Laissez-faire, laissez-faire.
I say laissez-faire.
Yeah, see, it's either, I've heard it pronounced both ways. It's laissez-faire, laissez-faire. Either way, it's not successful at building a national economy. It's just not.
If you're America first, you're going to protect the nation. You're going to be a nationalist. You're going to want to protect America's economy. And you're not protecting America's economy when you have a completely free trade without any type of, again, protectionary policy for the United States economy.
Yeah, well, get this. So we talked a little bit about the spending cuts that were proposed through the One Big Beautiful Bill. A pretty sizable portion of spending was cut. And I'm sorry that we allow the CBO to convince us that tax cuts are considered spending, because they're not. They're just not. But they've also proposed a 2027 budget, which is just now, I think it was presented in April. It's just now starting to be marked up and debated. And it is massive.
You
It's
mean
focused.
an actual budget, or you mean a continuing resolution? Because I'm sick and
Well-
tired of these continuing resolutions. Congress needs to get on it and pass an actual budget.
Nom, do you have, I
Yeah.
put a video in
Good
here
luck.
of Mike Johnson. Do you have that clip of Mike Johnson? I think it's called, I don't know what it's called, but it's in here.
Yep, got it right here. I got it right
Play
here.
this, play
Got it
this.
right here. I got it. Maybe it might take a minute to come up.
And then we're going to lead up to what we have to do and address the largest spending items. The reason we're in trouble is because over 74% of federal spending is on autopilot, mandatory spending. That's your entitlement programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and then things like Social Security. They have to be adjusted and fixed. We have a plan to do that next year, and it's critical because we're at 40 trillion plus.
So there's Mike Johnson talking about how next year they are planning to tackle where most of the spending goes. Whether they do it, I don't know. I don't trust these Republicans as far as I can throw them. They're frauds. They're liars. They're politicians. But the fact is, Nom, if you're talking, you're muted.
Yeah, there's so much that they can actually do in these programs with purely by rooting out fraud. And if you know that you are spending how many billions of dollars a year that are going directly to fraud in Medicaid, Medicare, and probably even Social Security, a number of these other mandatory spending programs, then you cut by that amount. But you have to be able to identify the fraud and weed it out so that no one can actually come out and say, well, they're cutting $800 billion in Medicare. No, we're not. We're just not allowing you to steal it anymore, frankly. And if they don't if they can't steal it, then we don't have to fund it.
Am I the only one that's old enough to remember when Congress shut down the government because they didn't want verification that people were citizens before they received benefits?
100%.
You know, that thing that we were all told
was
wasn't happening. They literally shut the government down because they wanted to continue allowing people that couldn't prove they were citizens to continue getting benefits. I mean, am I the only one old enough to remember that?
No, we all remember it. And that's
after they told us that, well, illegals can't get those programs, then why are you fighting to continue to allow them to get it? If you say, anyway, it's the same thing with elections and voter fraud and illegals voting, all that stuff. It's all the same stuff. It's the same argument. It's the same nonsense. It's the same bullshit. It's not happening, but it's happening. But when you try to stop it from happening, you're the racist. You're the istophobic phobophobe.
Yep. So look, folks, the 2027 budget that they're working on right now, if you don't yet understand what the American system looks like, you're about to get a heavy dose of it. Because this 2027 budget, the way the Trump administration has proposed it, is the American system implementation in a broad swath. It's going to have some front-loaded cost because they're focusing on building the defense and the industrial defense base. That's what they're focusing on. They're going to be slashing spending in areas that they can. They're going to continue to try to shut down the Department of Education, USAID, but they're getting ready to invest some money. So the defense surge, for example, 1.5 trillion total request, which is a 44% increase from fiscal year 26, which includes 350 billion via reconciliation mandatory funding. They're going to do shipbuilding, munitions, critical minerals, a Golden Dome missile defense, all of it. This is generational investment, according to the White House. They are building the arsenal of freedom, which Nam has talked about over and over and over again, to stimulate domestic manufacturing. The focus is to try to support broader economic growth through secure supply chains and high-tech production. You have to build that stuff, and it costs money to build it. They're not focusing anymore on an economy that is based purely on consumption, which is what the globalist system turned the US economy into. Our economy was nothing but consumption. We shipped all of our manufacturing overseas, and we literally kept the entire globe's economy propped up by consuming the products that they made for us. And in order for Donald Trump to be able to build this base, that's where the tariff system comes in. He has to encourage manufacturers to move back to this country so that we can make the products and the services that we think are vital to our national security, high tech, military, pharmaceuticals, energy, the things that if we do end up in World War III somewhere down the road because we have a Democrat who doesn't know how to manage foreign affairs, we can
Or
actually
does know.
survive as a country.
They're gonna do it on purpose.
I know.
Just for the
Mhm.
record.
And I'm going to wrap up here in a second because I know there's a lot of other good stuff to talk about. But we are going to continue to invest in building this manufacturing base. It's happening. And you're going to see the deficit reduction is going to come in two forms. It's going to come in the form of tax cuts, allowing the American people to invest and spend our own money, growing the economy, and it's going to come in the form of tariffs. And it's going to happen. It has to happen, or else Donald Trump's experiment with the American system is going to fail.
Well, part of that growth strategy sits squarely in us winning the AI race as well. I mean, there is so much growth just sitting there waiting to be realized. I think with AI, we don't have any idea where this stuff's going to be even next year, let alone 10 years. But I can tell you that there will be a lot of people that will ultimately end up being out of work and going to have to figure out how to reshape themselves to be able to participate. I mean, it's just a fact. And we could spend an hour explaining, or at least talking about what's going to have to happen. But AI, the growth that's going to come from that, the efficiency that's going to come from it, people will be laid off. But these AI companies, the ones that are popping up all over the place, they're going to add so much value to the economy. It's going to be absurd.
Nam, can you pull up the first video of Trump that we pulled up initially? It's the American System AI one. Yeah. Pull this up. I think this is really important for people to see.
When are you meeting with tech executives about the government taking stake in AI companies, and what could this partnership look like?
About AI? Well, I can say this. We're having a meeting with them. It's an amazing industry. It's bigger than any industry anyone's ever seen. We are leading China by a lot. And, whoever leads that is going to really lead the world to a large extent. That's how big it is. And I'm going to have meetings with the top 12 or 15 executives very shortly. And we're talking about giving back something to the public. And if we do that, the public will become very rich, the people in our country, because that's the kind of money we're talking about. And I think they'll do that, and I think it'll make it very popular.
So Trump he's going to have to walk a tightrope on this, right? There's a tightrope act that has to be played here, because on one side of this argument, you already see the Bernie Sanders of the world out there demanding. In fact, he's already got bills that he's trying to, get sponsorship and get them pushed in there, that these AI companies, that the United States government will take 50% ownership of them. And then basically a board or a panel will be responsible for divvying up the universal basic income that comes from them. That's the socialist view on this. And the tightrope that Trump is going to have to walk here is, no, we're not staking a position. We're not actually taking ownership of the means of production. But these AI companies very likely are going to have to figure out a way that we all become shareholders of these companies, because none of these platforms would work without our data. So every single thing that we know about AI and that AI knows about us, and what we're getting ready to experience, both in the surveillance that's going to come from it. I mean, they've already been surveilling us. They know every decision that you're going to make before you even make it. They can market directly to you, not groups of you, but to you directly now. But they can only do that because for the last 30 years, we've been giving them everything that they needed. So it's our data, right? These AI systems exist because we created them with our information. So we probably do have an actual right to have ownership of these things, but not from a government perspective, from an individual shareholder perspective.
We already have the model for this.
Yeah,
we already have the model for this already. And I don't know what he's proposing here, but if it's anything like he did with Intel, we already know exactly how it works. So if you guys remember, the Biden administration passed the CHIPS Act, which basically was going to give Intel $10 billion to do whatever the hell they wanted to do with it. Sure, there were probably some strings attached to build the fab that was being built a half a mile away from where my house used to be, which, by the way, was a story in and of itself and was delayed over and over and over and over again.
Was it delayed because of those DEI requirements and the
Yeah, it was
percentage
delayed by
of
all
female-owned
kinds of things.
businesses
Yep.
at construction? Not just female-owned businesses, but also female construction workers and providing childcare and
Yep.
all of those things for these people. First of all, find 10% of construction workers on a single giant project that could possibly be female. I mean, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, look, we already have the model. So what the Trump team did is when they came into office, they knew that the CHIPS Act was there, had already been allocated. And they said, instead of just handing Intel $10 billion, we're going to invest it into Intel. And we're going to take, I think they took like an $8.9 billion shareholder stake, an equity stake in the company. They took an equity stake in the company. So the American taxpayer became an equity holder in the company. Now, and I think they even had some perspective on sitting on the board of directors. There was no operational control or anything like that. But just in a few short years, that investment grew from 8.9 billion, and it's right now estimated close to 50 billion. So we saw a 400 to 500% increase in that investment. So how does this work? Put your American system thinking cap on, right? The American system is designed for the federal government to influence the very critical functions we believe are critical to the national security and development of our economy. The decision here is that microchips and AI is critical to the future. So the Trump administration took an equity stake, increased the value of that stake 500%, and then once that's realized, that gets applied to the deficit. This is how you reduce deficits using an American system to do it. So are they going to do the same thing with these other 12 or 13 AI companies? Probably. It's probably going to be a very similar type of situation.
I mean, Elon has said that, in very short order, we won't have to pay taxes anymore. That the countries, and I don't want to say the government, but the country's stake in these programs should be funding our entire national budget. And
That's
he's
right.
not far off. I mean, he's
No.
not far off. We can't, you guys, I'm telling you, you can't even comprehend how big these companies are going to be. Everybody's mad that Elon's now a trillionaire. OpenAI and Anthropic, those things are going to go so nuclear because they haven't even started charging people for the tokens yet. We are subsidizing, or not we, these AI companies are subsidizing the tokens that people use to leverage their AI. I mean, what was it? OpenAI, I think. If you're on the $200 a month plan, I saw Tony Sirigu was talking about this. If you're on the $200 per month plan as a business in OpenAI, it's actually costing them $8,000 to do it. And Anthropic is even more. I think it's $12,000 as what they are currently subsidizing. And the investors that are investing in these companies are okay with all that subsidization going on because very soon, once they've got you hooked like a crack dealer, they're going to start ratcheting up the cost for the tokens. And you're not going to have anything, you're not going to have any way to get out of what you've already built, what you've integrated into your business, and everything that you do, your business will exist with the foundation of these AI systems work, but it's also going to be able to create so much more value for that company. Those stock prices are going to go up for the companies that are leveraging them. They're not going to have a problem paying for these. You're going to see $1 trillion, $10 trillion valuations in some of these companies in a couple of years.
Yeah, it's coming. And this is how you're going to start to see deficit reduction as a result of economic growth.
Well, maybe. How do you guys feel about universal basic income?
I don't love the idea of universal basic income the way the Democrats talk about it. I don't know. I'm going to have to understand what exactly they're proposing, because here's the thing. If a data company is mining my data and they are using my data to train their model, that's my data. I should be paid for that data one way or the other. So if there's a model out there where my data is worth value and I'm compensated for it, that's a very different perspective than saying we're going to give you $1,500 a month so that you don't have to go to work. That's different. And I think there's an argument to be made that because data is literally the currency of the future. Since it's my data, I should be the one to be able to monetize it, not some other company who mines for it. Facebook should not be able to monetize my data without compensating me for that engagement. That's, I think, a model that I would be interested in learning more about. But the Bernie Sanders version of it, which is we're going to give you $1,500 and we're going to make sure that it's an entitlement, and anyone who tests or who wants to tweak that or mess with that suddenly is going to have to deal with you at the voting box. That's a different conversation.
Nope, I'm out on universal basic income in any way, shape, or form. I think it is not good. I think if AI starts taking jobs, I think Americans are the most innovative people on the planet, and people will adjust. It could be something we haven't even seen yet. I mean, 40 years ago, who would have thought about artificial intelligence? I mean, who knows what's to come next? I think universal basic income will just stifle innovation and motivation and forward progress.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
No, I agree with you completely on that. And when you talk about universal basic income, you're talking about the Bernie Sanders approach, right? Where
Elon Musk is advocating for it. He actually, as a matter of fact, Elon Musk was directly mentioned by Democracy 2076.
In a different way. Elon, I don't think Elon wants the government to be paying people $1,500 a month. I think what Elon and a lot of these people who are thinking really deeply about this are saying is that we should be individually, we should all be shareholders of these companies. Meaning when the stock price goes up, we have shares and we can do what we want with them. You want to sell them, you want to hold them, you want to, collect your dividends. That's the approach that I'm thinking is the only way forward with this, as opposed to the government collecting it and deciding who gets what, in the way that they do now with Medicare, Medicaid, and all the other handouts that they do.
Yeah, I think a lot of those need to go away too. I mean, I'm of the generation that was raised being told Social Security and isn't going to be there for you. You need to make sure you save for retirement. I'm old enough to remember George W. Bush talking about people need to be investing in their retirement, the IRAs, all of the tax benefits that were given to people investing in their retirement, because Social Security might not be there for you. And I think I think at some point in time, we're going to have to pick a cutoff, and probably it's going to be people my age and younger.
Yep.
And just say, look, we've been paying in, we're probably still going to pay in. And that's just our duty as Americans to take care of the senior citizens that have been counting on Social Security. But we were told our whole lives it wasn't going to be there for us. But I wasn't expecting it. Were you expecting it? I mean,
no, I don't think anybody our age should expect it.
I don't think anyone in their 40s is expecting Social Security, because we've been told our whole lives it likely won't be there, even though you've been paying in. Like, we're just going to have to cut our losses and realize, hey, this was our contribution to support the elderly of this country. And I think it's going to have to be cut off probably about our age, and just go from there, because people are going to have to learn how to take care of themselves. We cannot continue going forward with what we've been doing.
No, I totally agree. I guess the argument I'm making is this. It's that if data is monetized and companies are creating incredible value out of the data, then that data is mine, or at least my share of it is mine, and I should be compensated for my data. That's a very different discussion than saying the federal government should collect taxes, call it taxes or whatever, payroll taxes or whatever, from these companies and distribute it in a way that they have control over the people by handing out cash. That's my data. I should be compensated for it, particularly by the volume, by what I do with it, where I go, the engagement. I mean, we see this model kind of today already in social media. I mean, there are platforms out there where you literally get paid to scroll. Not a lot, but you get paid a little bit, because that's your data, that's your engagement. That's the same model I'm talking about.
Just speaking of payment and data and owning your data, I told the chat challenge, go ask Grok who was the first to post or comment about the NGO funding of Dominique Alexander. And Stephanie came back and said, you're the winner. Grok said you. The day of the verdict, was giving all of the credit to Sarah Fields the entire day. And it was, in fact, me that posted about it first.
That's right. That's right. SK is the first one. I remember that. All right. Let's move on. We've talked enough about economics. So DataRepublican had a post out today. I think this is a really important post because it's brought together. I think it's brought together in ways that I don't think any of us were quite ready
It was
for.
yesterday.
It brought together some really important components of the color revolution. And I want you to continue to put your American system hat on, because I'm convinced that the reason why all these forces were marshaled against Donald Trump was that clip that you saw a little while ago with him talking about the American system. Look, if you go back and you do your history, you look at your history of this system, every president who has attempted to implement it has either been assassinated or they've attempted to assassinate him. Every single one. Lincoln, McKinley, they took out JFK. They tried to take out Reagan. Donald Trump, all have had features of American system in some way or another into their agenda. And every one of them were either assassinated or attempted to be assassinated, because this method is the only thing that works and they know it. And when people catch on to the reality of how this system functions, there's no need for socialism. There's no need for radical, uncontrolled capitalism, because there is a system that functions properly. So let's pull up the DataRepublican post.
Yeah, so I've got her page loaded here. Which post do we want to?
It starts with Pompeo. I think
it's not the Penn post, is it?
No.
Here we go. What did Mike Pence, Mike Pompeo, and John Bolton and Elaine Chao? Okay.
Yes.
Have in common. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So pull that up. SK, you want to walk us through this stuff because you're probably closer to it than we are.
Yes. So she's talking about Mike Pence, Mike Pompeo, John Bolton, Elaine Chao. And remember yesterday, I know the three of us were talking about Pompeo and how he was giving props. Who was it that he was talking about at the beginning of that clip? Do you guys remember?
I can't remember his name, but he was basically the head of MI6.
Yeah, there you go. He was basically giving props to MI6 almost immediately after all of the Russia collusion stuff. So she's saying Mike Pence, Mike Pompeo, John Bolton, Elaine Chao, and I have a whole list of other people. But these people were all paid by a Marxist-Islamic Iran group that was designated as a terrorist organization until 2012. And it's the MEK. It was founded by leftist Islamists to oppose the Western-backed Pahlavi and participated in his 1979 overthrow. Khomeini barred MEK afterwards. MEK was implicated in multiple bombings, including that of Americans, and remained an openly armed group until 2003. Since they got delisted as a terrorist organization in 2012 on procedural grounds, MEK and their fronts have been actively recruiting U.S. politicians, selling themselves as moderate alternative to Khomeini. But Rand Corporation says MEK meets the qualifications for a cult, citing criteria such as forcing their members to work 16 plus hours a day and forced divorces. Polls of the Iranian American community shows that they do not accept Pahlavi. It's a Rajavi. MEK's leader as legitimate with a 46-point net disapproval numbers, nearly as bad as the existing regime. As Pence's former chief of staff, Mark Short, has already weighed against the Trump deal. It's helpful to recall this. Receipts below. So she goes into this, and let's look at the people that have been paid by this organization and think about the things that they're doing and saying currently over this Iran deal. So this is Mark Short saying serious people growing frustrated that same people who rightly criticized Obama's JCPOA are cheerleading for JCPOA 2.0. I think that's just a logo if you're watching it or if you're listening and not watching. And then if you click on it.
I don't think there's more to it. I don't think
yeah, there is. There's a thread.
Oh, wait.
You're going to have to click on it. Yeah.
She's threaded. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
There you go. In an interview with It's Your Gov, National Council of Resistance of Iran director and MEK representative, I can't say that, Durga Jafarazad. I can't say that. was asked directly, quote, "Is your group involved in any sort of lobbying or payments for speeches to prominent individuals such as Mike Pompeo?" He said, "Absolutely not." Remember, these are the NCRI. It was just announced today. Allegedly, I didn't 100% confirm it, but they're under investigation. So this person is the registrant contact on FARA registration for NCRI US for Iran on behalf of MEK. Pence's OGE financial disclosures filed for his 2024 presidential candidacy lists $190,000 from National Council of Resistance of Iran for a June 2022 speech at the MEK compound in Albania. Can't get more direct receipts than that. And then there's clips of and articles about Mike Pence's payment. Elaine Chao got $50,000. By the way, that $50,000 was for a 5-minute speech. She got paid $50,000 for a 5-minute speech. Elaine Chao.
Isn't that Senator's wife?
Yes,
wasn't she in transportation?
Mitch McConnell. She was the
Mitch McConnell,
Secretary
yeah.
of Transportation in Trump's first term. Her family is owns an enormous shipping company, and there's a lot of very, very shady stuff. There were some investigations that took place. I made a post about it on X when DataRepublican posted this. I reposted this one part where it says Elaine Chao 50,000, and I posted some information about Mitch McConnell and Elaine Chao, who's his wife, and her family. Mike Pompeo has been one of the most prolific speakers on the NCRI circuit. He labels MEK as freedom fighters. Speaking fees have not been disclosed, but AI estimates his payments well into the hundreds of thousands range, taking in comparable speakers. So are MEK actually freedom fighters? The Iranian community doesn't seem to think so. Repeated polling shows unfavorables comparable to the existing regime, which I don't know how much I believe these polls, and for good reason. A RAND Corporation study documented them as Islamist extremists qualifying as a cult. MEK was invited by Saddam Hussein to fight on his behalf against U.S. enemies. The list goes on and on. What changed about MEK? Not their leadership or ideology, money. It says how the denial works. A 3-entity structure. The NCRI US, the DC office that the Durka person runs. I can't say that name. I'm sorry if it offends you. I have Iranian people in my family. I'm not trying to be hateful. I just legitimately can't say that. FARA registered. The filing reports $0 in speaker fees and $0 in payments to individuals. NCRI Paris/Albania, the foreign principal. This is what's listed on Pence's financial disclosure as the source of the $190,000. This entity pays the speakers directly. OIAC, which is a domestic 501c4, which 501c4s can do political lobbying and things like that, organizes U.S. events. No FARA registration was identified for OIAC in the DOJ FARA database as a 501c4. OIAC is not required to publicly disclose donors. They paid Pence separately. Each entity can deny what the others do. That's how absolutely not works. And then there's a graph that shows how it all flows. And then it says now you will find reporting from left-wing groups critical of MEK paying Republicans. This is because communists are aligned with the IRGC, which is what we've been telling you since we started this podcast.
Yep, it's that unholy alliance.
Yes, and MEK does oppose the IRGC, but, quote, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and she believes that 100%. Mentality is exactly what has gotten us into GWOT and quagmires. MEK's entire value proposition is regime change. They're selling themselves as the Democratic alternative. Rajavi is president-elect of a government in waiting. Trump's current Iran posture is negotiation, not regime change. Nobody gave the memo to Sunni. Side note, in my opinion, true regime change is probably impossible without a land war, which is a non-starter. Exactly.
That's exactly right.
Which is why none of us support actual, typical, traditional United States regime change, either through democracy spreading or boots on the ground. That would explain why Pence, Pompeo, Short, and that entire crew are counter-signaling a peace deal. Will the Iranian deal work? I don't know yet if it will, but nobody does. I pray it will. But when Pompeo, Pence, and other never-Trumpers start prematurely poo-pooing the deal, now you know to check and see if money is involved here. And then she does post a little bit of extra beyond that. She said one thing that she learned while researching this report is that proponents of regime change over negotiation need an honest reckoning with the fact that the MEK has spent years cultivating support in Congress. If a regime change scenario were to unfold, it would be difficult to prevent the MEK from positioning itself as the interim government. And then it says, yep, MEK are Marxist-Islamists. I don't know how else you describe their ideology. And then she posted a screenshot of their ideology. And this is why the left and all of these people are very close to each other, because they're all working together, even though they don't have the same end goal. The one thing standing in their way is Trump and the Constitution of the United States of America. So yeah, there's that. And then I made that post about Elaine Chao, but I wanted to point out this ties into the broader color revolution stuff that we've talked about the entire time we've been on this podcast. And I will tell you how. So we talk about the pluralism. We've talked about the new pluralists. We've talked about the IMIP meetings. We've talked about this entire ecosystem. And the pluralism masks the globalist playbook. So think about that for a minute. Pluralism masks the globalist playbook. So you have Pompeo's MI6 tribute signals in defense of the globalist economic order, which is free trade, offshoring, elite coordination, against Trump's American system, which is tariffs, manufacturing revival, national sovereignty. But the cultural side is just as critical, and it's run through pluralism. The New Pluralists, remember the 2017 Mark Gerson Mediators Foundation convening with Soros and Koch, getting together and creating this big thing. They had the United We Stand Summit meeting at the Biden White House. All of these things are very important. They all factor in. It all diagnoses real problems like the polarization and people not feeling like they belong. But it prescribes elite-managed multiculturalism, bridging across differences, narrative changes, and adapting to demographic shifts as inevitable, which is the open borders and bringing immigration here and people not having to assimilate to American culture, but having Americans just accept the immigrants as they are. You have the coalition building with the IMIP, the Horizons, Chenoweth, the Stefan, the Danielle Reefs, all of these people we mention all the time. So all of these real issues get diagnosed, but solutions always favor managed cosmopolitanism over sovereignty. This is where our sovereignty goes away, you guys. So then with this America 250 celebration coming up, and what we've been warning you about with America 250 and the things that they've been talking about and how they've been planning since the Obama administration, the legislation for America 250 was passed during the Obama administration. So you have this group called Democracy 2076, and I haven't mentioned it a whole lot. I found it last fall. I have a whole Dropbox folder full of information on it. I just haven't talked about it yet, so you guys are the first to hear. So this Democracy 2076 is they're using America 250 as a springboard to completely change the structure. Remember, one of the arms I've mentioned several times is changing our complete political structure, changing our constitution, changing our entire government structure. And they are using America 250 as the springboard for Democracy 2076, which again is 50 years down the road. But they aren't waiting 50 years. They think they can have it done by 2030. And this is their constitutional overhaul. It's for the tricentennial. The proposals include proportional representation and campaign finance for our Freedom Amendment is what one of them's called. Congressional restructuring, House expansion, Senate weakening, or abolishing the Senate altogether. Citizen assemblies is what they want to replace the Senate with. And
This is
then-
where real quick. This is where we got a little bit heated in the green room because Nam was like, "There ain't no way in hell the Senate's going to allow themselves to be disbanded. These idiots can't even vote on Save America Act. They can't even find it within themselves to do a damn thing that's for the benefit of the American people. They care only about themselves."
You don't understand. They're already doing it. This is what they're doing in the states. When you're getting all these states signing legislation to say that when the popular vote winner wins, they're going to give all of their electoral votes to the popular winner to try to subvert the electoral college because they also want to abolish the electoral college. They are talking about their strategies. And there are people on board, including Elon Musk, because another one of the things that they want is guaranteed socioeconomic rights. You've had Lisa Logan on here talking about the well-being economy and the abundance agenda and all of these things that also have a lot to do with the data centers and the AI. One of the things is the UBI, the Universal Basic Income, and environmental mandates, all of the sustainable development goals to the UN, which again, that's a lot to do with Samantha Power from the Biden administration. But it goes back way further. It goes back to the 80s. Well, before that. But all of this, you have these payments from the MEK, which is the Marxist-Islamic Iranian group. They're formally designated as terrorists. Again, this isn't random. This is the foreign policy arm of the same globalist network that benefit from domestic pluralism management. So the economic management is what they are doing globally with the globalization of the economy. The local management of the domestic stuff is where the pluralism, like the pluralists, braver angels that disagree better. We have to get the Americans to just accept the immigrants as they are. All of the immigration policy, all of the radicalization pipelines, this is all a part of it. The interfaith, all of it. It's all included. So if you want the full picture, the easiest way that I can break it down currently would be you have the neoliberal roots and the global markets. You have the World Economic Forum stakeholders and capitalism. You have the domestic pluralism, like with the New Pluralists, Mark Gerzon, a lot of these groups we've talked about that manage the backlash. You have the long-term constitutional tweaks from like Democracy 2076 for a more inclusive / interdependent system. Remember the Declaration of Interdependence that they're hoping to sign on the 4th of July? This is all tied together. And they talk about the narrative battlefield. They talk about how they are going to control this narrative and the narrative warfare that they do. You want to say something, Nom?
I do. Yeah, let me ask you a question. So you just said they want to have the Declaration of Interdependence signed on July 4th. Who is they and who is signing it?
Well, it's this whole entire ecosystem. You have Linda Sarsour is the head of the organization that has the Declaration of Interdependence. Again, Iranian. Weird.
Well, so listen, so you've got a group of people out here who have come up with a way to think that they can better govern, I don't know, our country and the founding documents and the way we've been governed for 250 years isn't good enough. So they're going to sign a Declaration of Interdependence, and then they are going to try to implement it across our government. They're going to try to basically abolish the Senate.
Well, you're leaving out the color revolution portion. You're leaving out all of these protesters with the 3.5% of the population out protesting and causing civil disobedience or being violent. I mean, they allow for both.
Well, I mean, that's all well and fine. But I think they are operating in a vacuum where they don't have like half of the country who's going to be fighting against them. I think that's what's sort of left out here, right? I don't know how you try to abolish literally an entire part of the government that's in the Constitution. You're not going to get a constitutional amendment out of 3/4 or 2/3 of the states. I don't remember which one you need. to abolish the Senate. You're not going to get 3/4 of Congress to vote to abolish the Senate. So the only other way to do this, in my estimation, is through actual civil war.
Is to overthrow the government.
Exactly.
Which is what the color revolution is trying to do. Yeah. Yeah. Look, go ahead, Nom. Keep going.
Well, yeah. I mean, my point here is, I mean, it sounds incredibly dangerous. It is incredibly dangerous, but in a vacuum where they can do whatever they want and we don't have any ability to push back on it, I think is the world that they operate in. Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
So,
Sav Smiles said Linda Sarsour helped get Mamdani elected. Every single super far left socialist. As a matter of fact, I have a whole list of NGOs that are working together. You have the Code Pinks, you have the CCP, you have Iran, you have Iran's proxies, you have all of these organizations you've seen out protesting and practicing for a long time. They all are very laser focused. They all have their plan. As a matter of fact, there's going to be an entire group of veterans that are going to be protesting on July 4th.
Yep. So this, I think that, put that last comment back up there, if you don't mind, Nom. I think it was 2 goats and a dog. Put that back up. Not if half the country doesn't know. This needs to be yelled louder, which is exactly the point that I think SK has been trying to make over and over again for months, is that we need to be screaming at the rooftops about what these people are doing. And I think largely she and others, and to some extent this panel, has done that. What I see happening is a race. There's a race because you see the left who's organizing in ways to try to create an alternative to our constitutional republic and try to convince enough people that it is time and they have the power to make that happen. That's why you see the color revolution. That's why you're starting to see candidates pop up all over the country that are the most radical communist and socialist and Islamist that we've ever experienced in our political system. I mean, if you look at just about every single race, the Democrat candidate and some Republicans who are challenging their seats are some of the most radical people that we've ever experienced. They think they have the muscle now to be able to do this. Now, what I want to juxtapose that with is what Donald Trump and his team are doing. There's a race going on. You have the leftists who are trying to build their coalition, and you have the Trump team who is trying to build the American system here in this country. Because when the American system is implemented properly, you don't need to go that route because you have prosperity, you have economic advancement, you have all the things. And this, in my estimation, this is the race that's going on. You don't need globalists at the World Economic Forum when you've got a Don Road doctrine implemented on the national stage or an international stage.
But I think where the naivety comes in and where the, you know, like when I was talking to you guys about this earlier, you guys were like, Freedom 250, America 250 isn't even doing its thing. Trump took over. It's Freedom 250 now. This is where I think the naivety comes in. You have to understand that the globalists have had decades and decades and decades and decades and decades to be planning this, and they are literally at the 1 yard line. I've said it 1,000 times. They are at the 1 yard line, and Trump is doing everything he can, yes, to counter them, even with starting the Freedom 250 and pulling some of the funding that he's pulled and doing some of the things he's done with the committee, which again, there have been lawsuits over. There's so much pushback, and you have to understand our judiciary is basically captured.
Yep.
There are very few federal judges that are still constitutional and not captured by this whole this whole ecosystem. And it's not just a Soros, it's not just a Koch, it's an entire ecosystem. Just like we had the entire congressional hearing over the foreign funding of NGOs and how they're going to try to put a stop to that. Just like if you look at the Democrat coffers and you see that they have like what, $17 million, but they're like $14 million in debt. And then the Republicans have like $125 million and $0 in debt. That's because a lot of these things are being cut off. The NGO funding is being cut off. A lot of them are being investigated. You've got Singham being investigated. You've got a lot of these people on the radar because they're getting information from people that have been researching this for a very long time and following it for a very long time. So they're able to go in and start cutting the funding. So hopefully, I hope you guys can come up here and laugh and be like, you are so wrong. That would make me so happy.
I don't think you're wrong at all.
Be aware of what they're planning.
Yes.
And to understand, it is mainstream Democrat ideals. This is not some fringe group that's just on the outs and has no funding and is just a few people sitting in a basement planning something crazy. If you listen to the way all of the elected Democrats are speaking, they're speaking completely different from the way they have. If you look at everyone that's been in Congress for decades, as long as I've been alive, they've changed their language. They do studies on how they're supposed to change their language in order to get Americans on board. They're going to start using liberty, freedom. They're going to start using all of these things to try to convince the American people that the Democrats are the party of liberty and freedom. Meanwhile, they're going to be implementing all of this Marxist garbage, and they're going to completely change our Constitution and the structure of our government.
That's right. That's exactly. And look, the points that you are making are foundationally important to the contrast that I think that we have tried and will continue to try to paint. The contrast is you either have the things that SK is laying out, that the globalist, the Marxist, the radical leftist, and to a lot of extent, the fake ass Black Pill America wannabe crowd are implementing or plan to implement, which is a total globalist takeover of our system, of our country, from our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our entire way of life, shifting and it is not an overstatement to say that they fully intend on extracting every bit of productivity out of this country and using this country to send everything that we produce out of this country. They fully intend to do that. Or you have an economic model and a constitutional republic model that I believe is aggressively being pursued through the Trump agenda. Both of them are running simultaneously right now. And we have to figure out, how do we continue to paint this contrast between what they want and what's being implemented in this country right now?
Two things very important right now. The comment on the screen with goats and a dog. You can just Google Declaration of Interdependence.
Yeah, we actually pulled it up and read it. We read it.
You can even add Linda Sarsour if you want to. You can go back and watch all of our podcasts with Lisa Logan, or anything that has America 250 in the title, or the Color Revolution, any of that stuff. But they make it sound acceptable. They don't tell you exactly what it is. You have to go in and actually look at the PDFs with their entire plan, and when they have their Congress 2076 and all these things, to see their actual plans. But also, I think it's very important for all of you guys to understand, this is not the first time they've tried to hijack a celebration of our country. At the 200th celebration in 1976, they tried to do the same thing. They've been literally working on their failed plans in 1976 since 1976. They have not let up. And you have the Harry Boyts, who is now one of the leaders of Braver Angels, which we exposed all of that on X, and they came at us, and then they shut up really quick because they realized there is no counter to actual receipts and facts. You cannot deny this. You can try, but you cannot deny this. They put this out there publicly.
Yep. Look, folks, you have a choice, and we're going to move on and maybe do some fun stuff here in a few minutes, but we have a choice. And this is what baffles me the most about the losertarian class, who are so focused on austerity and America only, which is basically surrender and capitulation to the agenda that SK just laid out. Make no mistake, folks. If you go the route that they want to go, which is basically to, I don't know, curl up in a little ball and act like a bunch of little sissies and girls, you're going to get the Declaration of Interdependence. It's coming. You're going to get it. You're going to get a Senate that is eradicated. You're going to get an entire Congress full of people who are the most radical lunatics that you've ever experienced. It's going to happen. Or you're going to have to understand that it's going to require this country to develop an economic foundation that can show the type of prosperity that the American people are going to be promised that they will receive through the Declaration of Independence. You have a model that's going to give you something, or you have a model that's going to build an economic base. That's the age-old question in the American experience. Do you want a socialist model, or do you want a version of an economy that functions provides national security, focuses on national interest, and allows you to be a productive, sovereign citizen. You're muted, SK. You're muted, SK.
You're muted.
That was such a good point. I wanted to make sure you were heard.
I just want to add one of the graphics in one of the PDFs from Democracy 2076 literally says, maybe we don't need all 50 years if we prepare to leverage crises that we know will be coming, that they know will be coming, because crises make lots of things possible beyond what we think.
That's right.
They do not let a good crisis go to waste, you guys. Every single time there's a crisis, they push this agenda. Pay attention.
That's right. All right, Nam, you got anything to add to this before we shift gears and have a little bit of fun?
I think there's a gear shift that we can do that's kind of a affiliate attached to this, and it's because part of what our job, and frankly everybody in the comments and everybody who who listens to our content, who doesn't want these people to be successful, is you have to be able to debate and argue and disprove these stupid people and the stupid things that they believe. So what I wanted to sort of dovetail into this was the whole controversy over Elon becoming a trillionaire, right? Because the people who are outraged over the idea that Elon is a trillionaire, no one should have that amount of money, and all these people are starving and all that stuff, are the exact same ones who are going to be signing on to the Declaration of Interdependence.
That's right.
Right. So folks like this guy, and then I've got a little rant for this guy, if you guys don't mind, if I could have a little point of
you've been kind of like tucked back in the corner of this whole show, so we'll give you the floor for a few minutes.
Yeah. So,
but Elon Musk is I don't have a job, but Elon Musk is a trillionaire. I don't have health insurance, but Elon Musk is a trillionaire. I don't have savings, but Elon Musk is a trillionaire. My dick can't get hard, but Elon Musk is a trillionaire.
Everything he said, especially the last point he made, are all personal problems, frankly.
Hold on. Did he seriously blame his dysfunction on Elon Musk?
How many of you had a question that he couldn't get his dick hard? I mean,
nobody.
Realistically.
Nobody. Sound of his voice questioned at all whether or not he was being honest about that. Nobody.
No. So here's what we have to get better at debating and arguing and disproving and dispelling these notions that Elon Musk is a trillionaire, and so somebody else got poorer as a result. Because what actually happened, so Elon Musk employs probably about 250,000 people, right, across his 6 companies, which is why his net worth rose to over $1 trillion. 250,000 people work for Elon Musk. And as we know, every single job that Elon Musk creates in the economy, because his high-tech jobs are 3 or more economic multipliers, which means every job he creates 3 additional jobs in those communities. All of the tax base that gets generated from not just the income taxes that his people are paying, but also all the money that they're spending in the economy and the jobs that exist to support their spending in the economy. Elon Musk is literally feeding tens of millions of people every single day simply because he's launched 6 wildly successful companies where he employs all of these people. And did you guys see this? So Elon Musk is taking SpaceX to an IPO with which is crazy, like a $1.7 billion valuation, made 4,000 current and former SpaceX employees were made instant millionaires as a result of that IPO.
I read an article.
We're talking welders. We're talking cafeteria workers.
I saw an article about one of those welders who became a millionaire because Elon Musk believes in giving equity in these companies to the people who build the company. So I read an entire article about this guy who came from nothing, taught himself welding, went to trade school, developed a skill to be able to do this, worked hard, got a job, went to work for Elon Musk, and now he's a millionaire. because of the work that he did to build his little tiny portion of that company.
Yep. So I think the last I saw was like $137 a share is what is what it was trading at.
Yeah, look, there's no
after
doubt
the
that
IPO.
when you look at the valuation of that company, there was some funny business, not funny business, but it was valued differently than other companies were valued. And I think it had like a 93x valuation. So it was definitely valued much higher than what you would expect to see in an IPO. And there's a reason for that. There's a fundamental reason why SpaceX launched the way that it launched and why Elon Musk is now a trillionaire. It's because of Elon Musk. He is the X factor. He may not go out and start businesses by himself from the ground up, although he has, but he knows how to build businesses and turn them into massive, productive, impactful companies. You almost can't put a value on a CEO or a leader of an organization like Elon Musk. So when you see a 93x valuation of the stock price at an IPO, it's because of him. Maybe not necessarily because of the cash flows of the company, but it's because of him. He's the reason why it was valued that high.
Because you have no idea the idea that he's going to come up with next. I mean, just a couple of years ago, we would have thought it was absolutely insane that you would be able to build a reusable rocket that you could literally catch out of thin air or out of air, put it back on the pad, refuel it, and send it up again. I mean, Elon Musk and SpaceX could literally be doing taxi rides to space in the next 5 years. We don't know. That's the Elon Musk. Yeah, that's the Elon Musk X factor. And listen, the reason I wanted to talk about this topic, because it fits so perfectly in nicely with everything that SK was talking about. You can't have the Declaration of Interdependence if you have a nation of people who are engaged, who are working, who are productive. They're out there living their best lives. It only works when you have people who are bought into the idea that everything sucks. I'm poor, someone else is rich, and they're the reason why I'm poor. No, it's because that person, Elon Musk, and any other millionaires that are out there, CEOs, these founders, all these companies, they have created something of value that people actually want to spend money on. So listen, think about what Elon Musk does, right? We've got satellites orbiting our entire planet so that people like SK can be on the internet, or people in Ethiopia, or
who, by the way, has no idea what she's doing when she gets on the internet.
Zero clue.
And yet people like Elon have created a model where even she can do it.
Yes.
I mean, I might as well live in Ethiopia with the type of internet I can get if I don't have Starlink.
Right. I mean, so
she would not be able to be on this show at all were it not for Elon Musk, because she lives so far out in the middle of nowhere.
And then Elon is the first person who actually took electric vehicles seriously and created a product that people wanted to use that actually works in Tesla. And because, listen, we can talk about the Tesla takedown, all that nonsense bullshit. But we had people like Mike Quigley and Democrats out there saying, well, Elon Musk gets $8 million in taxpayer money every single day. First of all, those EV subsidies, these retards are the ones who actually forced it on this country in the first place. They're the ones who passed all these green energy scam bills that wrote into law these EV subsidies. And now you're mad that Elon Musk actually was able to take those subsidies and build a functioning company while the big five manufacturers weren't able to do it. They weren't able to get their EVs to actually do anything with their subsidies. Pause. Elon did.
Pause. You know what else they're pissed about? Is that part of the reallocation of spending that the Trump team has proposed in the 2027 budget is to wipe out those subsidies.
Yeah, and it should.
But they're going to vote against his budget, even though they don't like the fact that those subsidies are being used to help fund the companies that make Elon Musk a trillionaire. That's how crazy and insane these people are.
The same they did with the insurance companies and the COVID subsidies. These people were cheering on Luigi Mangione, meanwhile shutting down the government until the taxpayers were paying the premiums, at least a portion, for more years, while the health insurance companies just raised the premiums. These people that hate corporate America and claim they hate corporations are continuing to subsidize corporations.
Yeah, well, let me actually, I'm going to take this down for a second. So we're going to wrap here in a second because we're getting close to 2 hours.
I have to do Oklahoma politics before we go.
This will be very quick. What's even funnier about this is because they don't know how to deal with the fact that there are actual inventors and innovators and wildly successful entrepreneurs in this country. The solution that you're now hearing from all of the radical leftists who want to give you the Declaration of Interdependence is, well, we just need a wealth tax. We need to tax these people and take their wealth beyond a certain level. And depending on who you're talking to, they'll give you a different level. 100 million, more than that. I don't know what the level is, but I have a better idea. I actually have a better idea that I think most people will agree with. Before we even entertain the concept of a wealth tax, particularly from these people, we need to implement what I'm going to start referring to as a political wealth tax. A political wealth tax. Like, for example, you guys know this guy right here? You know him? You know this guy?
Oh, yeah, this guy.
You know Ro Khanna?
Ro Khanna.
Yeah.
He just keeps doing dumber and dumber things every time I see his face.
Isn't he the masshole's like best friend right now?
Yeah, he loves the massholes. He's the NIAC guy. He's the Quincy Institute guy. He's the guy that stood in front of the American people demanding the Epstein Transparency Act, even though Epstein files were already. This guy right here is one of the people who came out and demanded that we implement a wealth tax because Elon Musk is too rich. Well, I submit to you that before we take a penny from people like Elon Musk, we should be implementing a political wealth tax on people like him. Because I don't know if you know this or not, but in 2017, when Ro Khanna came into Congress, according to Open Secrets, was worth anywhere from $27 to $45.8 million, largely from spousal and family assets. Not from anything that he did, not from any business idea that he came up with. None of that money, or at least most of that money, was actually given to him by marriage. And yet somehow 7 to 8 years later, from 2024 to 2025, according to Open Secrets and 2026 reporting, his net worth is now $232.7 million. So in a 7 to 8 year period, Ro Khanna's personal wealth increased 400%. 400%.
We should tax that 100%. We should tax all of it.
Every penny above his personal wealth from the minute that he stepped foot in office should be taxed at 100%. Now, I'll even give him a caveat, right? I will argue that he should be allowed to accrue personal wealth at the same rate that the average American accrues personal wealth. So you could tie this to some index. You could say, what was the average increase of the Dow on a yearly basis or the NASDAQ on an annual basis?
But how many people don't beat the market? I mean, I beat the market every year.
Well,
you can't say that.
But the problem for people like Ro Khanna is the reason why his wealth is as high as it is because he did thousands and thousands and thousands of stock trades allegedly using information that was obtained in classified briefings and classified settings with information that you and I don't have. So you may be able to beat the market because you're smart. Him and other people like, I don't know, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Pelosi, go down the list. Both Republicans and Democrats are doing it. If we want to implement a wealth tax, the first thing that we should be taxing is the wealth that these politicians are creating using information that you and I are not allowed to trade on. So I'll be nice. I'll be gentle and say, you look at the average increase of the Dow or the NASDAQ and everything above that their wealth increases on an annual basis, 100%, take it, tax them. That's my proposal.
I like it. Sign me up for that. That's a tax that I can support.
That is a tax.
Let's do it.
That's the only tax I'm going to support. I know SK is cringing a little bit because she doesn't like taxes. Obviously, I'm being facetious. I don't love the idea of taxing, but what we can do is we can stop these people from being able to get super wealthy while in office by using information that you and I are not allowed to have access to. And if we try to, you go to jail for trading on insider information unless you sit in Congress. You go to jail for it.
And sometimes it's effective just to be absurd, to point
That's
out
right.
absurdity, right?
So
Pointing out
before
absurdity
we
by being
even
absurd.
entertain a wealth tax, Ro Khanna or Nancy Pelosi or Bernie Sanders or Liz Warren, we're going to tax your wealth, the wealth that you accumulate from the minute you step foot in office that is above and beyond the average rate of growth of the average American citizen's 401k. If they earn 8% that year and you earn 15%, that 7% should go back to the taxpayer. How's that feel? You like that? All right, SK, you've got an Oklahoma update. Go ahead.
All right. So, Jackson Laymeyer, I have to have a word with you. I gave you until 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's now 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 10:30 Central. And I gave you till then to unblock me because as somebody who participates in putting together a voting guide, the most used voting guide in the state of Oklahoma, by the way, and has actively campaigned for you, including defending you with all of these scandals that have come out the last couple of days with the texting and the potential allegedly cheating on your wife and all of these things, which we all know I don't give a shit about. I will defend you. I'm not, even though you are a pastor, that's between you and God. Don't have anything to do with that.
Wait, you mean a pastor cheating on his wife?
Yeah.
Sex scandals?
Yeah.
Shocker.
So, and also Trump endorsed, by the way. Trump did not do great in Oklahoma on his endorsements. Just
Well,
gonna
he
say
doesn't
that.
know everybody, but
Including Maisie, but that's beside the point. We're not electing you to be our pastor or our moral compass. We're electing you because we believed in your policy and thought you were going to do right by the American people. But if you're going to go on tirades and just start blocking anyone without even clicking on the screenshots that were posted, like, I don't know, somebody defending you in political text messages from one of your opponents when they're trying to smear you using this whole scandal, last minute scandal to smear you, and you're just going to block people, especially people that have been campaigning for you and defending you for the last 2 days. I will then tell people I don't endorse you and I will not vote for you tomorrow when I go to vote. And I will make sure I take a photo of my ballot showing I didn't vote for you because I gave you the opportunity to unblock me and you haven't done it. But if anybody else wants a voting guide, you can go on X and you can go to OK Voting Guide, or you can go to at OKHPR Bears, or you can go online to MOHA, MOHA, Make Oklahoma Healthy Again, pack.com, and you can get the best voting guide in Oklahoma. There's not a whole lot of endorsements on there, but you can at least look at their survey grades for the people who did turn in their surveys this year. Some of them were a little late, but they at least got graded. So you can see who got an A grade, and those are the people you definitely want to vote for. I'm voting for Eccles on the governor. It's kind of still a toss-up for me, but I'm definitely not voting for Drummond, and I hope none of you vote for Drummond either. Beyond that, you guys can decide. Maisie is definitely not my favorite, and I won't vote for Maisie, but you guys can choose in that race. But your local races as well are listed. And hopefully everybody makes the right decisions. Definitely do not vote to raise the minimum wage in Oklahoma because we know what that does to the economy. I don't need to give you an economic lesson.
yeah. Interesting. Clipmaster, can you get me the clip of that rant that SK just went on about this Jackson Lawmeyer guy? Because he may have blocked her, but he didn't block me. And I'm going to send it to him to make sure he saw it.
Oh, he's seen it. 100% he's seen it. He knows.
I mean, come on, dude. She was on your corner. She was trying to help you.
Dude, he's blocking people from his own church. His own parishioners, like the people in his church, he's their pastor and he's blocking them if they're talking about any of this. He's just going through on a block tire, like the day before the election. He blocked me today.
That's crazy. Maybe he thought that he learned something from watching Thomas Massey's campaign collapse in the waning days because he invited an American Reich t-shirt wearing Nazi into his campaign and decided not to say or do a damn thing about it. And in fact, invited him to his house after everyone in the country already knew exactly who that guy was and what he stood for. Maybe this guy thinks that he's protecting himself mistakenly by blocking you.
I think he would find that most people, especially Trump supporters, definitely don't care what you're doing in your personal life, whether you're a pastor or not. I really don't care. I'm not electing you to be my moral compass or to be the pastor of Oklahoma. I'm electing you to implement the policy that we support here in this state, including Trump's policy, and to go make sure Trump's agenda gets codified. That's
right.
the reason we were voting for you.
Not
So
anymore.
by alienating the people that are campaigning for you and endorsing you and encouraging people to vote for you, your campaign's messed up. If your consultants know that you're blocking all these people, including your parishioners, I mean, we have a serious problem on our hands. You cannot go represent the people of Oklahoma if you're going to be blocking your supporters.
Well, if he is elected to office to represent you, it will be a crime. Maybe not a crime, but he won't be allowed to block you as a representative. SK, do you know why Texas doesn't vote away from the
Because
Gulf of
Oklahoma
America?
sucks so bad. I know. Ha ha ha. Funny. I get it. But also, I mean, it's kind of true. We definitely keep Texas attached to this country, and if you guys ever leave, you got to take us with you. We're the redheaded stepchild, we know, but you can't do it without us, and you know that.
I mean, does Texas really need Oklahoma?
Yes,
For what?
for everything.
Like someone to laugh at when they beat your ass in
to pick
football?
on. Yeah, they got
Yeah.
someone to pick on.
But no matter what you do, if you're in Oklahoma, do not vote for Gettner Drummond. Please, please, please do not vote for Gettner Drummond.
Man, there was so much other good stuff in here that I wanted to get to. Maybe we'll save it for Wednesday.
Oh, JD Vance is going to be on The View tomorrow.
Yeah, can't wait for that. By the way,
I put a funny, yeah, there you go.
By the way, JD Vance just totally nuked this narrative that part of this Iran deal is giving the Iranian regime $300 billion. Folks, just so you know, that's the narrative that they're trying to spin out there. Nobody has actually seen, at least as far as I know, the full contents of the deal. But shockingly, JD Vance is describing exactly the Don Road Doctrine and the American system being implemented in the Iran deal. Because he came straight out today and said, yeah, I mean, there's money that's going to be made available, but it's going to be made available from the Gulf states, which if you read the National Security Strategy document and you understand the Abraham Accords, that is exactly the mechanism by which we get to pull our military and bring our people back to this country. Because we're not going to be the Middle East police force forever. We may be involved in helping to create the conditions where the Abraham Accords can be implemented and be effective. But even in the implementation of this deal, they are already starting to develop the regional policing structure by tying aid to Iran to performance, not by us, but by Gulf partners. And I'm sorry for the losertarians out there who don't understand that, but that's reality. And I'm sorry if it pisses you off that you missed it and we've been getting it right every step of the way, because I remember having this conversation with this panel when we launched our second round of attacks against Iran. And we told this panel, calm down. This is going to be short. We have objectives in Iran. We're going to meet those objectives and we're going to come home. And our objectives were different than Israel's objectives. Our objectives were to leave an Iran that can be built or rebuilt by the Iranian people. If there's some remnant of the IRGC left after we leave, that's up to them to solve. If there's remnants of the IRGC after we leave, that's up to the Gulf states to manage. It's not our problem. And for Looney Sunni, when I'm talking about regime change not being our responsibility, that's what I'm talking about. And maybe if you didn't mute the shit out of me when I was on your panel, you might have caught that. Because that's what cowards do.
And I would just like to point out, I'm not somebody that attacks someone's faith or questions their Christianity or their faith or whatever.
Why would you do that?
But if you're going to make a platform where you consistently talk about being a Christian, you should probably not attack other people for being Christian and say they're fake Christians and things like that. It's just not a good look.
No, it's not. All right, we got to roll, folks. We'll see. Nam, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Nope.
All right, folks.
Nope.
This was fun. I hope you got something out of this. My goal, and I think hopefully this panel's goal over the next several weeks, is to help create the contrast between what they want to do and what we are seeing happen. And I think the timing of the Trump administration's implementation of these systems is perfectly poised to create that contrast in the run-up to the midterm elections. take us out. Folks, we'll see you
Good night,
Wednesday.
guys. Good night.
Trading sacred liberties for power, gold, and twisted dreams. From the broken borders to the fields our forefathers tilled. The enemy is prowling, truth is silenced, honor killed. But I'm a patriot source, forged in fire, standing tall. Bible as my sword and old glory as my core. No apologies for loving this blood-bought land. We'll charge the gates of darkness with the fire of the righteous stand. God bless the USA. We'll never bend or break. Patriots of freedom, warriors wide awake. They laugh at heaven's mercy, call our faith a dying flame. But when the storm clouds gather, we invoke the holy name. The serpent weaves through statutes, twisting justice into chains. Yet with God as our commander, victory still remains. Yeah, I'm a patriot source, forged in fire, standing tall. Bible as my sword and old glory as my call. No apologies for loving this blood-bought land. We'll charge the gates of darkness with the fire of the righteous stand. God bless the USA. We'll never bend or break. Patriots of freedom, warriors wide awake. So arm your heart with courage, let your spirit mount the steed. Ride against the shadows, truth and justice we decree.